Caitlin Clark being frustrated. Caitlin Clark wanted to come back. Word on the street, front office, even Stephanie White said it down in Phoenix. She stated, we are worried about the long-term health of Caitlin Clark. That has been the topic. That has been all they were.
Caitlin Clark, the superstar who propelled the Indiana Fever from obscurity to playoff contention, has been benched, not by opponents or age, but by her own front office. The very executives who owe her so much are now attempting to sideline the face of women's basketball. Clark, however, isn't backing down. She's fired up, ready to fight, and making it unmistakably clear that no one benches Caitlin Clark.
Is Caitlin Clark not playing because she's hurt? She can't come back? Or is she not playing because the organization chose to bench her for the rest of the year? Because Stephanie White has come out and made some comments, and I don't like what I'm hearing.
The Indiana Fever are officially in the playoffs for the second consecutive year, setting a franchise record with 23 wins and achieving their first winning season since 2015. Yet the player who made it all possible, the one who transformed empty arenas into sold-out spectacles and whose name alone drives fans, seats, and revenue, is not suiting up for the most critical games of the year. Caitlin Clark has been ruled out for the rest of the season, including the playoffs, and she is furious.
And a Fever are having a tough time covering the tracks to the dirty games they played and screwing over the fans and sabotaging Caitlin Clark this season. Everybody is on to the dirty games that the WNBA and the Indiana Fever have played this season, manipulating the people and using Caitlin Clark for money and using her fans. Stephanie White has been exposed. Lexi Hall confirms that Caitlin Clark was ready to play and that the team made the decision to keep her out while she was ready to.
The official reason? Long-term health. The front office is acting like they're protecting the crown jewels, bubble wrapping Caitlin Clark for a future that apparently matters more than the present. They practically pat themselves on the back for being cautious, as if fans are supposed to cheer for benching the one-woman highlight reel who single-handedly dragged this team into relevance.
What stood out to you about Caitlin and kind of the array of emotion she probably felt as you came to this decision?
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating, number one, just all the injuries that she's had. Obviously, I wouldn't speak for her, but, and the amount of work that she's put in to position herself to be able to play and then to, have to ultimately make this decision. There's disappointment. There's the obvious frustration that's come with not being healthy really for an entire season. But ultimately, I think the big picture is the most important thing, and those are conversations that we've continued to have. And the messages continue to be that it's not her long-term health and wellness and her being 100% when she's ready to go is the most important.
Caitlin Clark isn't just another player to stash on the injury list. She's the main reason anyone even talks about the Indiana Fever. This franchise spent 7 straight years as a league laughingstock, far from the postseason. Then Caitlin arrives, and suddenly they're a playoff team, filling arenas and making headlines on SportsCenter. She took a team from the basement straight to the ballroom.
Clark strapped on her hard hat and steel-toed boots and revolutionized the game of pretend basketball. She turned this previously unmonetizable turd into a league that's getting dangerously close to losing their charity status. Because of Caitlin Clark, the WNBA is on the verge of generating pesos and profit for the first time ever. She brought mainstream attention to a league that never had a chance of breaking into the mainstream. She brought a new fan base. For the first time, people were actually willing to spend money to watch the...
And how do the executives repay her? By telling her to sit this dance out. It's not just a tactical misstep, it's borderline disrespect. You don't bench the main character right when the story is heating up. It's like a blockbuster cutting out the superhero during the final battle because the director is worried about wear and tear.
I'm all for the long-term health, but you got to be a player-first organization. And if that player If that set player is ready to return, she's cleared by the doctors. She's cleared by the damn doctors to play. Been cleared by the doctors to play. Let her fucking play. I am sorry. Y'all sitting up here, donkey and a damn carried everybody, wanting to get all the money you can off one day. It's one day at a time. One day at a time. All this BS y'all doing is ridiculous. In Indiana, you're looking spooky. You're looking spooky. I am sorry. I am sick of this.
If you're enjoying this, please subscribe. July 15th, 2025, Connecticut Sun, final minute of the game. Clark makes a routine pass, then suddenly clutches her right groin. The cameras capture her frustration, head in her hands, towel over her shoulders, the weight of disappointment crushing her. From that moment, the Fever front office decided her fate. Not Clark, not the doctors who cleared her for non-contact practice. The Fever's games have become primetime spectacles. Her very first matchup against Angel Reese's team drew 2.7 million viewers on ESPN, the most-watched game of the year. She posted a triple-double that night and essentially broke the internet, while Angel Reese scored 12 points somewhere in the background with a side eye or two. Caitlin is the show, the whole show, and nothing but the show.
Instead of allowing Caitlin Clark to elevate the league, WNBA players were overtaken with powerful feelings of jealousy. They resented her. They wanted her to go away. And this season, and especially over the last couple of months, WNBA players have gotten exactly what they wanted. After 2 years of claiming that the WNBA is about more than one player, unknown dump divers were finally given the opportunity to prove it. As expected, the end result has been huge, embarrassing failure.
For nearly 2 months, they dangled hope like a carrot in front of a racehorse. Day after day, they said, "We're taking it slow," promising a careful return. Meanwhile, Clark spent hours in the gym every single day with one goal: getting back on the court. She was doing non-contact drills, participating in shoot-arounds, ready to return and lead her team to glory. But here's where it gets ugly. The front office, the same people who've ridden the Caitlin Clark gravy train since day one, decided they knew better. They shut her down entirely, not because she couldn't play, not because the doctors said no, but because they wanted to protect her long-term health. Translation, they wanted to protect their investment, even if it meant sacrificing their best chance at a championship.
Fever fan base has lost so much trust in the Fever organization this year, and not only from the injury reporting, but it stems from the injury reporting. There's been some very, very weird injury reports this season, and the math isn't mathing. And I've also been one to defend the organization to a certain extent because you don't always want to give away too much information. And I've placed a lot of the blame on the reporters. I'm like, how are the reporters not able to get to the bottom of this and at least give us some?
Clark released a statement that should send shivers down the spine of every executive in that building. I had hoped to share a better update, but I will not be returning to play this season. I spent hours in the gym every day with the singular goal of getting back out there. Disappointed isn't a big enough word to describe how I am feeling. Let that sink in. Disappointed isn't a big enough word. This is Caitlin Clark, the woman who has faced pressure that would crush mere mortals, carried an entire league on her back, and never met a challenge she couldn't conquer. Think about what Clark has done for this franchise. She took a team that was the laughingstock of the WNBA and turned them into playoff contenders, broke attendance records, shattered viewership numbers, and made the Indiana Fever relevant for the first time in nearly a decade. And this is how they repay her, by sidelining her during the most crucial stretch of games in franchise history.
A sabotage job, you guys. Flat out, point blank, period. You guys have not been open and up front. You guys have talked about long-term health and wellness. You guys have not been up front with the injuries, with the injury report, with the timetable. You guys left this girl listed as day-to-day and questionable for months at a time. That is not being upfront with the people. It's not. It's not. It's not. You guys hid an injury, an ankle injury, for weeks. You guys hid an ankle injury for weeks.
The front office's excuse? We're putting no timetable on it. The most important thing is Caitlin's long-term health. How noble, how considerate, and how utterly insulting to a competitor like Clark. This is a woman who has played through adversity her entire career, never missing a game at Iowa and never missing a game in her rookie WNBA season. Yet suddenly, the front office knows better than she does about her own body. Here's the truth they don't want you to know. Clark was participating in team activities, running with the squad during 5-on-0 drills. Medical experts called out the team's day-to-day narrative as misleading, saying her extended absence indicated a week-to-week issue, not something catastrophic. Yet the front office chose the nuclear option, shutting down their franchise player just as she was this close to returning.
When she hurt her ankle in August, that was really the dagger that ended the season. But also, they had no idea when that groin injury would have healed. See, this is the part that's frustrating with these guys, is that why can't they just say mid-grade 2 or 3? Just tell the truth. Was it a 1? Was it a 2? Was it a 3? Was it a 1 but she re-aggravated in practice or something? Did they over-push her or something?
And what's Clark's reaction to this betrayal? Pure, unfiltered honesty. This has been incredibly frustrating. But even in the bad, there is good. The way the fans continue to show up for me, and for the Fever, brought me so much joy and important perspective. I am so proud of how this team has only gotten stronger through adversity this year. Now it's time to close out the season and claim our spot. Notice what she did there. She thanked the fans, praised her teammates, but not a single word of gratitude for the front office that made this decision. That silence speaks volumes. Clark knows exactly who is responsible for keeping her off the court during the biggest games of the year.
I miss it too. Y'all want to know why Caitlin Clark said this? Because Caitlin Clark never wanted to sit out. Caitlin Clark wanted to come back. Caitlin Clark wanted to come back, and they're treating her like she's property. That's what the Indiana Fever is doing. She's their property now. And since Caitlin Clark can have the say on whether she can play basketball or not, which is completely damn me ridiculous, utterly ridiculous. If she could play and she want to play, let her fuck.
Here's where it gets even more infuriating. The Indiana Fever needed Clark. They sit as the 7th seed, having clinched their playoff spot with a 94-65 demolition of the Washington Mystics. Yet they're heading into the postseason without their superstar, their draw, their identity. Fans are already expressing skepticism about the team's playoff chances without her, and rightfully so. The front office talks about protecting Clark's future, but what about protecting the franchise's future? What about the thousands of fans who bought playoff tickets expecting to see the Caitlin Clark show? What about the television ratings that are about to plummet without the league's biggest star? They've prioritized hypothetical future concerns over immediate championship opportunities, and make no mistake, this decision reeks of organizational arrogance. The same front office that watched Clark transform their franchise from irrelevant to must-see TV now thinks they can win without her. They're about to learn a harsh lesson about what happens when you sideline greatness in favor of corporate caution.
By making the playoffs, and by shutting down Caitlin Clark, it means that they fully believe that Caitlin Clark is not going to be an asset to this team, and they would rather go into the playoffs with Bree Hall on the roster than with a Caitlin Clark. And I don't know if it's a situation of, like, they would rather do that than go in with Caitlin Clark, and they would rather go in not have the headache of Caitlin Clark. It straight up seems that this front office, whether it be the coach down, they do not want the headache of constant Caitlin Clark questions.
The Clark statement continues. I want to thank everyone who had my back through all the uncertainty. Everyone who had her back. Not everyone in the organization, not the decision makers, but those who truly supported her. That's a not-so-subtle dig at the people who clearly didn't have her back when it mattered most. This isn't just about one player missing the playoffs. It's about respect. It's about recognizing what Clark has meant to this franchise and this league. She's been the WNBA's golden goose, the player who brought unprecedented attention and revenue to women's basketball. And her reward for that loyalty? Getting benched by suits who've never laced up a pair of sneakers. The most maddening part, Clark was ready. She'd been putting in the work, grinding through rehab, doing everything asked of her. Yet the front office decided they knew better than the competitor who has never backed down from anything in her life, choosing fear over championship aspirations.
I missed this so bad. Caitlin Clark's message on her Instagram story. I missed this so bad. It's just a tough thing to process, I'm sure, for her as well. And then the way it went down, it wasn't like a sudden thing, which in the long run is better, right? I mean, it's better that it wasn't an ACL or an Achilles or one of these injuries that's going to sideline her for a prolonged period of time. But the hope of her return, and then the ankle injury messing everything up in the process of that and making it so she couldn't return, it has to be burning her up inside.
And now they get to explain to fans why the most exciting player in women's basketball is watching the playoffs from the sideline. They have to justify why ticket sales will drop, why viewership will plummet, and why the Fever's championship window just slammed shut. All because they couldn't trust their franchise player to know her own body and make her own decisions. Clark's final words in her statement are telling. Now it's time to close out the season and claim our spot. Not our spot in the playoffs. Not our championship run. Just our spot. It's the language of someone who knows they're being held back from something bigger. The Indiana Fever front office just made the biggest mistake in franchise history. They took the player who saved their organization and told her she couldn't be trusted to help finish what she started. They chose corporate liability over competitive fire. They picked spreadsheets over championships.
NBA had a star come in that has not had this much impact on a sport since Tiger Woods. That is how big Caitlin Clark is. That is the global impact, and it's not just an American impact. That's the global impact that Caitlin Clark has had on this league. The amount of eyeballs, attendance, all of the things. We've been over all of it. It's the Caitlin Clark effect, Clarkonomics, whatever you want to call it. At this point in time, if you're still denying that, I don't know what to say. You're not living in reality. Unfortunately, though, there are still people at this point in time who are still denying that. When Caitlin Clark went out with injury in the beginning of the season, the viewership dropped over 50%.
Caitlin Clark deserved better. The fans deserved better. And when the Fever inevitably falls short in the playoffs without their superstar, everyone will know exactly who to blame. Not the injury, not bad luck, but the front office that was too scared to let greatness shine when it mattered most. Disappointed isn't a big enough word, and honestly, it shouldn't be. So, as we watch the Indiana Fever in the playoffs without the one and only Caitlin Clark, let's acknowledge what could have been. The front office may have aimed to play it safe, but they ended up playing themselves. Caitlin, however, will be back next season with a vengeance. Mark my words. You think she had a chip on her shoulder before? After this, she'll have the whole damn casino. Meanwhile, the Fever will learn the hard way that you don't clip the wings of your own golden goose. Because when you do, you're left with a lot of eggs and no spectacle. And nobody, I mean nobody, buys a ticket for the eggs. If the front office doesn't get that, well, enjoy the silence.